There you go. 4-punch, 5-punch, 6-punch combination. Body shot, bang, 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 bang.
Telling him not to counterpunch.
Boom! Will Rackman get up?
Iron. You're going through all the instructions. This is for the championship of the world. I expect a tough, clean fight. Protect yourself at all times. Any questions from the challenger?
Welcome back, fight fans. It's time for the main event of the evening. This is the Fight City podcast with your host, Alden Kodash, joined by Michael Carbert, the editor-in-chief of thefightcity.com. How's it going tonight, Michael?
I'm doing well, Alden. How are you?
Doing very well. Well, much better than Luis Ortiz is doing, most likely. Poor guy, really fought a great fight last night. So last night we had Luis Ortiz versus Deontay Wilder at MGM Grand. All three judges had Ortiz ahead. 2 of the 3 had him winning 5 out of the first 6 rounds. He's fighting a very good fight. Was almost looking like he was en route to exposing Wilder, and then just as quickly as that thought came into my head, he was out cold, almost, or he was out of the fight. Counted out by Kenny Bayless and just at the end of round number 7. So just goes to show that Wilder can look as vulnerable as he wants, and it could all mean absolutely nothing in the end because he just has that one-hit power that erases all of his technical shortcomings. Kind of a familiar tale. It's kind of hard to bet against him now, don't you think, Michael?
Oh, absolutely. There's no arguing the fact that he's got freakish God-given power, and some boxers just have that, and he's showing no signs of any kind of slippage at all. He's proving to be a consistent performer, and the major part of that consistency is when he lands his best shot flush, guys hit the canvas, and so, yeah, this wasn't exactly a shocking outcome. My sense is pretty much everyone was expecting Wilder to win.
Yeah.
But the impressive nature of the knockout, the way all that sweat flew off Ortiz's head, and you know, it spawned a lot of discussion, at least on social media, about where do we rank Deontay Wilder in terms of the all-time greatest punchers in heavyweight history, and that kind of thing. Which for me, it's a touch premature considering his opposition. But at the same time, there's no denying it. He's got a gift, and it's a pretty impressive thing to see when he lands his shots.
100% agree. His power is just, I think I heard it best from Matthew Aguilar from the El Paso Times in USA Today. He said that watching Wilder is just like watching a horror movie, and you're just waiting for the boogeyman to come out. He just kind of looms in the shadows. He can loom in the shadows almost as long as he wants. Against Tyson Fury, it was more than halfway into the fight before he got the first knockdown. That was more of a flash. Then right at the last round, it looked like he just took him out completely. He'll be fighting Tyson Fury again, of course, to see who can settle the score after that draw. But Wilder's punch is it's bound to land too. It's not like you can see the. It's not like watching a prime George Foreman who is fearsome and all over you and a huge puncher, but not quick, extremely telegraphed. You can see it coming. Of course, it was almost inevitable that he was going to get one over on you. But Deontay Wilder's power is well masked, and he does some subtle things that you don't see, like the knockout. He likes to paw his long left 84-inch reach jab, just slowly paw it. It kind of just occupies you, blinds you to some extent, and what he did is he fired the right hand so quickly behind it that Ortiz didn't even have a chance to get his stance straight before he was smacked clean with that shot. Besides the fact that Wilder didn't really do much to break Ortiz down before it, the knockout kind of reminded me of Foreman Moore in a lot of ways. Not only did it look similar, and not only was it a huge right-handed puncher against a southpaw, but just that probing jab was another example. Just occupies him, going slow, kind of lulls you to sleep, gets slowly on the outside of your left foot, and then just gets total momentum and total leverage and just knocks your clocks out. And it was very tough watching Ortiz and how frustrated he was after, because it's terrible to train that long and to come in looking that good, because I really did think he fought much better than he did in the first fight, and just control your opponent, and your family's there, your kids, and all of a sudden, just like that, before you know it, you're being counted out. So,
well, he made millions of dollars.
He made $7 million. Yeah, that's a good point.
So, even after he pays all the taxes and expenses and everything, he's going home with a few $1 million in his pocket. So I can't feel too sorry for him. I totally agree. I mean, Wilder, no one is going to argue that Deontay Wilder is a boxing virtuoso. He's not a particularly sophisticated talent. But yes, he is capable, and he knows what he's doing. That's the key thing. When I watch him fight, you're watching a guy who's very, very confident.
Yeah.
He relies on his power, by a large degree. But he has the confidence. He has the inner confidence, as you say. It's that sense that it's inevitable. Sooner or later, it's going to land. And yes, he did set that final right hand. He set it up beautifully. I would say that there's a big difference between him and George Foreman, in that Foreman's jab alone was a formidable weapon. He had a powerful, very heavy, powerful jab.
Walter doesn't have a jab. he has a probing left hand that blinds and occupies his opponent. It's not really a jab.
Yeah, and the other thing he has, though, is he's quick. For a heavyweight, he's quick. And I know that I can't be alone in the past and thinking, like, look at how skinny his legs are. Look at how compare his weight to that of some of the other bigger heavyweights around. Are we sure he can?
Tommy Hearns type physique,
Yeah,
and skinny as hell,
and he's made it work for himself. Like, it's not at all a disadvantage for him that he's lighter and frailer and in a way smaller than some of the heavyweights out there. Instead, it doesn't matter. He knows that he's got a technique that he's honed, and so you underestimate him at your peril, because it's not just about raw power. It's also about the fact that he's practiced and he knows.
Yeah,
he's got some things down in terms of the technique and how to bring his power to bear. And as you say, it's this sense that it's inevitable. I mean, to turn.
You don't knock out 41 out of 42 victories or 41 out of 43 opponents with it all being lucky shots. Just statistically impossible, right?
Exactly. Very good point. And also, I mean, we're looking forward. I hope it's going to happen. The rematch with Tyson Fury. I mean, it almost happened before, and then I'm still not sure why the rematch fell through the first time. But it's set, is it not? Is it?
That's the latest I've heard, is that they've already signed a contract before Wilder got in the ring with Ortiz for the rematch, and it's going to happen in early 2020. But with talks about Tyson Fury and the UFC or whatever, the MMA, I know the WWE, they're doing some farce. I mean, it's sad to say. I would hope fights like that don't slip away, because.
I'll call it. I mean, I will not be at all shocked if the fight does not happen, because, as I say, the rematch was at one point, I thought, signed and sealed and ready to go, and it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And as you say, Tyson Fury's busy being a very savvy marketing business guy right now, and getting as much juice as he can out of his current standing. I mean, this is some smart stuff he's been doing the last few years. including the fight with Wilder and his performance against Wilder. But now he's doing WWE. He's talking about UFC. He's got a new book out. And I really do think that, again, to lend credence to this theory that you and I are both subscribing to, that Deontay Wilder has some ring smarts, actually. I mean, I think that Wilder will have an advantage in the rematch because he's seen pretty much everything that Fury can do. And part of the reason I think he got that big knockdown in the last round was he was starting to make adjustments. He was starting to figure out how to time Fury and how to get the big shot.
Fury was rolling under his right hand all night. It was almost comical to see the same shot all night. But then he made those subtle adjustments to where he threw the shot, and that's how he caught Fury on the top of the head in the last round. And the other round that he scored the first knockdown in is he anticipated where he was going to duck his head. I mean, he's not savvy enough that he can do that regularly. He still missed what seemed like 90% of his right hands in that fight. I know probably statistically it wasn't, but it really only takes one, and that was almost the case.
Yeah, well, as I say, I mean, we'll see what happens. I hope the rematch happens. It's one of the most interesting matches in boxing today. But I do think that part of what we saw happen in the final round of that fight is that I just get the sense that Wilder will be going into the rematch feeling more confident, whereas Fury will be going into the rematch thinking, okay, I got to come up with something. I got to come up with something a little different. I've got to do something to get this guy off his game. So it'll be a fascinating chess match if it happens.
Yeah, if it happens. Of course, that's not going to be as easy as we want it to be possibly. Or maybe it will be. Maybe the fight is already signed, sealed, delivered. It's going to happen. Tyson Fury is just kind of trying to make a bigger name for himself with talks of going into the MMA realm or whatnot. But yeah, let's talk about more heavyweight action while we're at it.
We can talk about another fight that everyone thought was going to happen and that it didn't for a number of years, and that's
what a perfect segue, Michael.
The first time that Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield signed contracts to fight. Yeah, you were wondering where I was going with this, right?
Yes, that is the perfect segue. 1991.
Yeah. And it looked like that fight was signed and sealed, and my memory
it was, right? Wasn't it? I mean, there was the poster for it and everything. I'm sure a contract must have been in place of some sort.
Definitely an agreement was in place because Holyfield went into training.
Yeah.
And that's what we're leading up to is the fact that Mike Tyson couldn't fight. He ended up getting sidelined. I think at first there was an injury.
Rib injury. Yeah, rib injury at first.
And then, of course, there was a criminal charge of rape. And that completely scuttled the fight. And at first it was Francesco Damiani who was going to be the substitute opponent. And the fight was then moved to Atlanta, Georgia, Holyfield's home city. But then Damiani injured his leg or his ankle or something in training.
Yep.
And then literally on just days' notice, it was smoking Bert Cooper, who unfortunately, in untimely fashion, left us. He died earlier this year.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, of pancreatic cancer. But Bert Cooper will be long remembered by boxing fans in large part because of what happened when he did get into the ring against Evander Holyfield back in 1991. And the anniversary of that fight was just a few days ago. And our own Neil Crane did a bang-up job writing about that fight. And, it's kind of a overlooked heavyweight slugfest. I mean, sit down sometime. I'd encourage every fight fan out there, crank up the YouTube and watch Holyfield versus Bert Cooper. You won't be disappointed if you've never seen it or if it's been a long time since you saw it. That is one hell of a slugfest. And I imagine you
absolutely.
remember.
This story, yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, Alden, I get the feeling you remember it well.
Yeah, I do. I mean, not when I wasn't alive when it actually happened, but I do know quite a bit about the fight. I watched it several times, and I think the thing that's interesting to say is that for Cooper's level of commitment, heart, determination, the level of courage he showed against Holyfield, you would have never expected if you followed the career of Bert Cooper in the years before that fight. This is a guy who quit on several occasions. Big George Foreman, Nate Miller, Carl Williams, I think Frazier threw in the towel, but Joe Frazier quit him. Quit him because Cooper was on drugs, not showing the type of mentality of a fighter, the courage, the heart of a fighter, and he had enough. He walked out. Sure enough, Cooper out of nowhere, coming off losses to Riddick Bowe, Ray Mercer, goes up against Evander Holyfield, short-term replacement, puts Holyfield down, I think for the first time in his career in the third round, and almost has him out of there on several occasions. It was the fight that really made people think and really kind of confirmed some critics' thoughts about Holyfield and skepticism about Holyfield, that he's just too small to be a heavyweight, and certainly too small to be a heavyweight that's on par with fighting Mike Tyson. I don't think anybody came out of the Holyfield-Cooper fight thinking Holyfield had a chance to beat Mike Tyson had that fight took place 2 weeks before. But at the same time, it showed the incredible heart and commitment of Evander Holyfield, who fought through several near knockout loss moments in that fight and got Cooper out of there eventually, and I think it was the 8th round, or at the end of the 7th round.
That's right. It was round 7, and only after, you watch the fight, it's incredible how many punches Bert Cooper took, and I imagine that you were referring to a lot of people as a result of this fight having kind of a negative judgment of Holyfield's abilities.
Yeah.
Part of the reason is that he hit Bert Cooper with so many clean shots, especially uppercuts.
Broke his glove on him.
Exactly. He hit him so hard and so often that his glove split. And the fight was paused. They had to take off the glove and replace it on his right hand. And, but I think it's less that Holyfield couldn't punch. It's more that Bert Cooper was absolutely determined to win that fight, and he had a hell of a chin. Cooper was erratic. Cooper was unpredictable.
Yeah.
He quit after 2 rounds against George Foreman, and at that point, a lot of people wrote him off. Mm-hmm. And as you say, Joe Frazier gave up on him, because basically the problem with Bert Cooper was he was one of these people, he just loved to have a good time. Mm-hmm. And a good party was too much of a temptation for him. And, so he wasn't completely committed to an athlete's lifestyle. And this totally undermined his career, there's no question. But when he was on, and when he was motivated, and when he was keyed in, he could be a very, very dangerous fighter, as Michael Moore found out in Bert Cooper's very next fight. His performance.
2 fights later. I'm actually on Bert Cooper's boxer page.
Yeah. Okay. But the Holyfield fight led to that opportunity to fight Michael Moore, and that, in my opinion, is one of the all-time great heavyweight slugfests.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Yeah. The opening round alone is worth the price of admission. Incredible action.
Just trading knockdowns like they were trading baseball cards.
Exactly.
Yeah, I do not know how Moore made it out of that fight. I mean, a lot of referees would have stopped it. I remember there was one knockdown where, honestly, the fact that he was too frozen to take a knee almost right there. He was just frozen on the ropes, turned away from Cooper, and what was the referee's name? Joe O'Neill, big guy. He just had to, luckily he didn't stop the fight. I guess he ruled that the ropes were holding him up or something. But Moore's unbeaten streak was saved by that call alone.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's fun to recollect and pay tribute to Smokin' Bert Cooper, since, as I mentioned, unfortunately he died this year. But he has a legacy. He will be remembered, and I'm sure Evander Holyfield remembers him. I'm sure, I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
and some people have argued that he got a gift in that third round because he actually didn't hit the canvas.
Yeah.
Cooper nailed him with a
The ropes held him up. I think that's a fair call. The ropes did hold him up.
Well, yeah, but it's one of those borderline things. I mean, I agree with you personally because I think the referee had no choice because Holyfield actually grabbed the rope with his hand and held on, and if he hadn't, he definitely would have hit the canvas. So to me, it was clear as day. That's a knockdown. But on the other hand, if Lane lets it go, then there's a very good chance Cooper lands, another big shot, and that could be the end of the fight. And he would have been the heavyweight champion of the world.
On how many days' notice?
Yeah, I can't give you a precise number, but I mean it wasn't much. I mean it was definitely less than like 2 weeks. I mean it was not that fight was put together very quickly. They wanted to go through with it because it was Holyfield's big homecoming fight in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And he almost paid the price, I'll tell you. A tremendous fight.
How many more upsets could the heavyweight division take at that point? 1991, previous year is Douglas Tyson.
Right. Yeah.
The overloaded with heavyweight upsets. Although I'm not sure. Well, this one wouldn't have been as big as Tyson Douglas, of course, but in retrospect, it's almost as shocking because of Cooper's struggles and Holyfield's dominance at that point in his career. But then again, there are many people in the camp of Holyfield too small, an opinion that didn't really change until Holyfield beat Riddick Bowe in their second fight, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, and that could be another podcast for us, right? I mean, Bowe versus Holyfield, that's one of the great trilogies of recent years. And the heavyweight division in the 1990s is actually a fascinating story. I mean, and you mentioned big upsets. Well, just a few years later, you got George Foreman knocking out Michael Moore. And, I mean, the 1990s was a crazy decade for the heavyweight division and a lot of great fights. And I mean, look at the heavyweight division today. I mean, that's another thing that came up that I saw on social media. Some people are saying, wow, thank God the heavyweights are coming back. Last night was an exciting knockout.
They've been, they've been at the forefront the last 3 years, in my opinion. They've been made a much-awaited comeback since the Klitschko days.
Well, yes. I mean, anything is better than that, right? So I mean, it's all relative. It's all what you're comparing things to. But I mean, no one during the 1990s felt they were living through a heavyweight golden era. But compared to what we've been dealing with the last 20 years. It looks pretty damn good right now. I mean, again, as we were talking about before, I just hope to God that this Wilder Fury rematch happens. I mean, that would be great for the heavyweight division. Very intriguing matchup. And then we got a big fight coming up next month. That's also going to have some major implications. I don't know. Hopefully we can see some unification fights. There is the chance that 2020 could mark a real resurgence if we get some of these big fights all happening in relatively short order. This could be an exciting time for heavyweight boxing. It's long overdue, that's for sure.
Well, I think there's a good chance that we're going to see one of our dream fights, whether it be Wilder Fury 2, which hopefully, as they've been stating, is signed, sealed, and delivered. I think there's a good chance that we see the winner of Joshua Ruiz. That's going to be happening next month. Or actually, go up against the winner of that fight or either one. Of course, we're going to save Joshua Ruiz for a later podcast because that's definitely the kind of fight with the kind of environment and the kind of things riding on it that warrants its own podcast. But this is, I think, did pretty well for a lot of heavyweight drama in the coming years. I think the only thing that went wrong this year is we didn't get Wilder Wilder Fury 2 right away. But we did get one of the biggest upsets in heavyweight history since Tyson. What am I saying? Since Hasim Rahman and Lennox Lewis. Maybe you could make the case for Vladimir Klitschko and Corey Sanders, but I don't think so. I think it was Rahman Lewis that was the last shock like this. And Anthony Ruiz, I personally think he's here to stay. A lot of people think it was a fluke. I think there's a lot of interesting points you could make on each side of that argument. And I think Hunter Breckenridge did a very good job describing the Joshua perspective. I'll be looking to get something out describing whether or not Ruiz is just another one-trick pony in the heavyweight division. But really what it comes down to is December 7th. We just got to see. We got to see if it was a fluke. I don't think it was. I personally think Ruiz is the better fighter. I guess I'll go on record now saying that, if I haven't already said it many times before. But we're not sure. I can't be sure because we could be seeing a completely different version of Anthony Joshua that we don't know about. I think it's unlikely, but we got to see. And that's what makes it such an exciting heavyweight division.
Protect yourself at all times. Any questions from the challenger?
And next up, we have an exclusive interview with Montreal-based super middleweight prospect Shakeel Phinn. Here's Michael Carber to introduce him.
Alden, a few weeks ago, I had the chance to stop by the Donnybrook gym and have a chat with Shakeel Phinn, rising super middleweight contender, and we're hoping to see some major developments. He's got a fight coming up in Poland, and it's not exactly the big fight that all of us are hoping he'll get soon, but he's going to be facing off with, I don't even know, I'm not sure I want to try to pronounce the name, Matuzak Trick. That's my attempt. He's 8-0. And he's a Polish super middleweight, so it's a good news that Shakeel Phinn at least has a fight coming up. He'd like to be more active than he presently is. He was signed with Groupe Yvan Michel, and roughly about 2 years ago, to some fanfare, he signed on with them. But that relationship has kind of fizzled out, and so I got a chance to get his take on that. And we talked about his hopes for a big fight in the near future. He actually was in serious talks to be on the Josh Taylor Regis Prograis undercard.
Interesting.
He was going to maybe get a chance against Zach Parker, who's an undefeated super middleweight from England. But that didn't come together. So he talks a bit about that. And we talk about it's interesting to note, he's co-owner of the Donnybrook gym. His trainer, Ian McKillop, who we profiled on the website, is they own the gym together, the Donnybrook gym. And it's doing very well. It's one of the more prominent boxing gyms in Montreal, a city which is just chock full of boxing gyms. Mm-hmm. And interesting to note, that's the gym that Tyson Fury chose to train at when he accompanied BJ Saunders when they came to Montreal for the David Lemieux fight. And at that point, that was in 2017, Tyson Fury was just starting to rebound and get back into serious training. He had a lot of weight to lose. And the Donnybrook gym was where he did his training while he was staying in Montreal. So that's an interesting side note. So anyway, it was great to catch up with Shakeel Phinn, and I think this will be of interest to all our listeners.
I expect a tough, clean fight. Protect yourself at all times. Any questions from the challenger?
Me and Yvonne, we had a great relationship, and I'd like to say we still do. There's no animosity. It's just more like I want to do other things, want to go bigger, and that was it. Like Yvonne did great stuff for my career, got me the fights I needed, and I just want to go a little bit bigger. So that's pretty much where, I stand, and I'm, but thankful for what Yvonne did for my career. But it was just time to kind of move on, I think.
Now, when you say, obviously, you say there's no animosity, but there was something you wanted that he wasn't able to give you, or?
Yeah, well, I mean, I just felt that Yvon Michel and the promotion, maybe they were. I feel like I was fighting Casino. It was like kind of like a thing where like I want bigger venues. Yes, I fought the Videotron Center in Quebec City, but I want to get out there in bigger cards and stuff like that. And I don't know if that was in the plans, So, but like I said, I'm happy with the way my career is going on so far, and most of my fights have been under at the Casino and with Yvon Michel. So, but I think I just want to go for bigger things. I'm still growing, I'm still young in the sport. But I want a little bit more. I want to get out there more.
I was wondering if it had something to do with activity, and his being not necessarily able to keep you as active as you want to be. Is that a fact?
Well, I mean, because me and Ian, we always said we were trying to especially for a guy like me, who started late in the sport. We just want to grow in the professional ranks. So grow as a fighter in the professional ranks. And I've had, I think this year I've had 2 fights so far, both with Jim, but I thought I was supposed to have at least 4, but so things were happening where things were getting postponed and fights were happening. So since I won the title in June, the 2 titles in June, and now it's October. So I thought I was going to at least get another fight before then, another 2 fights before the year ended, but we were talking about stuff, but it didn't seem like there was anything out there. So I just had to do my own thing, and me and my team decided that was best that we asked for the release, and that was that.
Do you feel, you say there's no animosity, which of course is very positive, but do you feel like you weren't a high priority for Group Yvon Michel? Was there?
I don't know about hyper. I mean, he did pay for the 2 titles for me to get. So I mean, I had to be a priority for him because you're not just gonna buy, because you have to pay a whole bunch of sanction fees. For me to fight for the titles and bringing opponents in and stuff like that. So I think I was at a priority for sure. But I mean, it was more like a thing like where are the fights? What's going on next? What's next? What's the plan for the future?
Right.
So. I wasn't sure if they really had any plans, or I wasn't sure. It didn't seem like it. So I went with what my team, my manager, my coach, Ian, said they think this is for the best, and that's what I was following. They're my advisors,
right.
So I just followed the lead of my advisors and went with my gut feeling as well, and that's it.
And you're referring there to Ian McKillop, your trainer, and your manager is
Butch Gottlieb, yeah.
Right. Okay. So at the moment, are there any plans, any matches coming up, anything happening right now?
So we were actually in talks with to be on the Joshua Taylor Regis Prograis card in the UK October 26th against Zach Parker, a guy from UK down there. I think he's promoted by Sutherland Promotions, and we were in talks, and things were looking like they were good. We accepted and stuff like that, the purse and everything, and I thought it's on Eddie Hearn show, so big opportunity, and it was a fight that I really wanted because I can be seen, and you win a fight like that, Eddie Hearn's right there, so one of the biggest promoters in boxing, if not the biggest promoter in boxing right now, and get a shot. So but I don't know what happened. One day the contract was coming, and the next day was they're pulling out because of X reasons. So so it didn't happen. So I'm still training, getting ready for whatever's next. We're a couple offers here and there, so we're just I guess we're sitting on stuff, waiting for the right thing, but staying in shape. So yeah.
So everything's on hold at the moment, and are you thinking in terms of staying a quote-unquote free agent for now, or would you like to sign up with another promotional outfit?
I mean, if it obviously has to make sense, like anything like money wise and visibility and stuff like that too. Because obviously right now I think I'm at a point in my career too that I need to be seen. I can't just be, people know me locally, but worldwide, obviously now that I'm NBF champion, maybe like if you say, oh yeah, you're the NBF, maybe they might know, but not too many people know. So I'd like to people to know who I am, like to be seen on TV, bigger networks and stuff like that. So with that, obviously comes bigger fights, so and bigger paydays, and that's what I'm in the game for right now too. So if a promoter comes and is offering something good that makes sense, then yes, I would definitely love to be protected by a promoter. If not, we kind of just we go the other route, which I've been on that route before. I was signed with Yvan Michel as a free agent, kind of just taking fights, but I don't want it to be I don't want to be
spinning your wheels. Exactly,
yeah. So I'd rather be, I want to be obviously picked up and guaranteed stuff. You want to be, okay, if you're with a promoter, you're kind of guaranteed this, that. If you're not, it's kind of like, okay, you get a call here, you get a call here. So that's where I don't want to be for too much time. So now we just split up with Yvan Michel. So right now it's kind of like I'm in that, okay, calls, but hopefully something happens where a promoter is willing. So like that's what we're waiting for right now. And I think we're getting there pretty close right now. So maybe I have to take a tough fight to show what I can do. But if that's the case, then we got to do it. Like obviously the money has to make sense for these type of fights too. So, but I'll be ready. I'll be ready for those type of things.
It's interesting that you would say that maybe I got to take a tough fight to show what you can do. I would wonder if maybe, I'm just speculating, something that might be working against you is the opposite, that people, at least on the inside, maybe know you pack a very mean punch. You're a dangerous fighter, and maybe it's a risk versus reward kind of thing. Maybe your reputation precedes you, and maybe that's getting in your way. Do you think that's a possibility?
That could. I mean, for the October 26th fight, that's what I was thinking. I don't want to say anything, bad about other people, whatever. But I mean, hey, man, I really wanted that fight in the UK, and they said, maybe he's undefeated, maybe he's not ready, or there is another offer for him to fight for something bigger, and it made more sense for him to do that right now because maybe it's easier, but it's like a better fight for him right now in his career. And me, it's more of a risk, So maybe I am a risk for some guys out there, but obviously, I'm going out there too, so it's a risk for me to fight different guys too. So I mean, it's a risk whoever takes a fight, and especially at that level, like with the top B, top minus A guys who are there right now. I think anybody fighting those guys is like, you're definitely at a risk of anything, So it's just if you're willing to take it. So, and I was willing to take it to step out of my, not that I'm in a comfort zone right now, but it's like, I was brought pretty well. The last fight was the guy was super tough. But the guy, Zach Parker, undefeated guy, he has good skills. So that's it's a bigger fight, and the guy is good. He's obviously he hasn't lost, so it would have been definitely a risk in terms of like, me losing, whatever, but I'm not going there losing, but like the guy's undefeated, so anything can happen in boxing. So
I've been following the boxing scene in Montreal now for a number of years, and it always seems to me like the scene could be bigger than it is. There's a lot of potential here that doesn't seem to be realized, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Part of it being that people around here seem to have trouble working together. But another thing that came up once in conversation with somebody who's on the inside is they said to me, the fighters here, they're just too quiet. They don't talk. And you've got fighters got to understand they've got to find a way to attract attention and raise their profile. Do you think that's a factor at all in your career or in general? Is that a factor from your point of view in terms of making a career move more quickly and attract more attention, sell more tickets, and therefore inspire a promoter to maybe work harder on your career, that kind of thing?
I mean, I guess the whole thing with the whole social media thing nowadays, it's like, that's really big. Like, you see like a guy like, I don't think he's that good, like a Ryan Garcia, but like you see he has like over 1 million followers on Instagram, and he's pretty boy, he talks a lot, he does all these flashy things on Instagram, he's younger and whatever, So maybe that could be it. But I feel like, there's guys who showed us that you don't have to be like that. Like Andre Ward, he wasn't like a brash, like a out there kind of guy. He was kind of to himself. There's guys like even Errol Spence, not a big. He will say it in the ring, like, yes, I want this guy, I want that guy, but he's not technically. Like, he's not. He's showing his skills in the ring.
Yeah.
He's not doing like a lot of talking outside the ring either, and he's like a huge star in boxing as well. Lomachenko, he's just flashy. So like everybody loves Lomachenko. He's very flashy. But I mean, maybe we do have to kind of get out there a little bit more and be a little bit more verbal and stuff like that. But I've never been like that. So it's kind of hard to be something I'm not. So I like to I'm the type of guy who likes to let my fist do the talking, and and that's it. So.
But hey, you're. I mean, you've been letting your fist do the talking. You've had a certain degree of success. I mean, really, your career has advanced very, very well.
Yeah.
And, maybe it's time to make some noise and say, hey, everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of hardcore boxing fans in Montreal, I mean, the larger sports scene should know who Shakeel Phinn is.
You're right. 100% right. 100% right. I mean, maybe I do got to do a little bit of talking. I mean, it's not, like I said, it's not my thing. But, it's not my thing. But
you should be dropping a puck at a Montreal Canadiens.
I would honestly, I would love. I'd love
to.
I'd love to be doing stuff like that. That's for sure. Like, I mean, I got to think, like, even Jean Pascal, he kind of like, I feel like he talked his way into these fights that he's getting right now. The Bivol fight, the Marcus Brown fight. I mean, like, he before the Bivol fight, I think he had just fought against Steve Bosse, so he had no reason being in the ring with Bivol after that, right? So, but he's very verbal, and everybody thinks he's at the end of his career, but he's making these big moves right now, and it's pretty much because he's very he's out there, he's brash, he's so.
Well, to that end, is there anybody you want to call out right now? Is there anybody you want to make a little noise right now? And is there anybody you want to say, hey, why are you ducking me? Anybody out there? Any names you want to drop?
Honestly, man, like I said, like I'm not like that. So I mean, like if they want, I'm willing. So that's all I have to say. Like if the fight is there, if the opportunity presents itself and it's a huge fight, then I want to take it. So
there's no one right now that you got your eye on.
I mean, like
in the 168-pound division, you got your eyes. Like, I mean, I want
168
that
pounds. I mean, like there's guys, obviously the world champions. I'd say like a guy like Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant is somebody I would definitely love to share the ring with. Who else at 168? So there's Callum
168
Smith.
is where you're competing, right?
Yeah. There's Callum Smith. There's Benavidez. And I think there's one more champion. I just can't think of who it is right now. But, I'd like the guys like, I'd fight a guy like Anthony Durrell right now. I'd fight a guy like Caleb Plant. I'd love to fight a guy like Caleb Plant. I'd fight a guy, if James Gill is still around, I'd fight a guy like James Gill. I'd fight a guy like Andre Durrell right now. Like, those are guys, like, I feel like those guys would kind of push me to that level to where I can fight those world champions. And then if a fight like a Benavidez fight or a Callum Smith fight happens, and then I'll be ready for those fights when I get those guys like a Andre Durrell, or Anthony Durrell, or something like that. Like, I definitely like to step in the ring with either a Caleb Plant right now. Like, I feel like we make for a great fight. His slickness, but my pressure would be really good be a good fight right now.
So in a way, could we sum up this situation by saying, you feel you're ready for a breakthrough, you feel you're ready for even a shot at a world title, and now's the time to try and do what you can to make that happen?
Yeah, I mean, like I think I can be ready for the top guys at, like, I'm in the top 20 right now in some of the things, so I think I'd be ready for some of those guys right now. Like I said before,
I think you've earned it too.
Yeah,
you've earned a chance.
Yeah, I said for sure. Like I think the best thing for me right now, what I would want, is to fight like one of those older champs that was or a contender that is probably like, he's still there, but he's right there. He's always gives the champions a good fight. That's the guy I think I like who's at 168 like that. That's kind of like that. Anthony Durrell, like, example.
somebody who with some star power, some reputation.
Yeah, exactly. That's been in there like Porky Medina,
a gatekeeper.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
To speak.
Like Porky Medina, like those guys who's been in there with like a Caleb Plants, who's been in there with these type of guys, but just didn't win, and they have been at the top of the game before, but just couldn't stay there. So I feel like those type of guys right now is like I'd like want one or two of those guys, and then like give me a David Benavidez, give me a Callum Smith, give me like those
whoever's
guys
at the top.
Yeah, because if I can get those guys who like that can give me that, to see if I belong there, then I would love to just fight those, and I'd be ready for anything.
I expect a tough, clean fight. Protect yourself at all times. Any questions from the challenger?
And that just about wraps it up for episode 33 of the Fight City podcast. We look forward to seeing you guys on the next show. And in the meantime, check us out at thefightcity.com and on Twitter at thefightcity. Great hearing from everybody.